Welcome to the Potter Blog site, August 9th, 2014. The South Carolina Department of Health is directing all colleges and universities in South Carolina to examine all West African students and faculty for Ebola exposure. And specifically, they're seeking to avoid the spread of sexually transmitted Ebola from people who may have been unknowingly exposed and recovered from Ebola. They're throwing a very wide net. Now, we've made copies of the documentation from them, specifically their entire questionnaire, what they're asking from. But we also have a link to the direct document on our webpage. I'll zoom in here just a little bit. And what's interesting is the scope of it, how far it goes. Advisory is to provide recommendations to healthcare providers in the university college health setting that may have students or faculty arriving from regions in West Africa currently affected by the Ebola virus outbreak. It's advised providers conduct initial screening for clinical symptoms and for EVD exposure, that's a Ebola virus disease. Risks of all students and faculty who previously resided in or returning from regions where EVD transmission is occurring. Now, they mentioned the standard 21 days, but there's another aspect. It says, for any persons with a consistent travel history and any of the above symptoms, providers should immediately report to their local Department of Health office for further discussion of laboratory testing and necessary control measures. And it goes through and it lists basically all the things to look for. Specifically mentions sexual contact with an EVD survivor within 3 months. But it's really the scope of this which is interesting, and it's actually a very wise precaution because in a lot of ways Ebola spreads like AIDS. The difference is basically every fear that there was about how AIDS might spread, well, Ebola actually does seem to spread that way. The Ebola virus is a lot more hardy than the AIDS virus and can survive a lot more things. It requires a very, very minuscule amount of Ebola to be infected by it. Reportedly 1 viral particle to 10 viral particles. The other thing is most people don't know is that you can test negative for Ebola and still pass it on. Some people have symptoms and still test negative between 3 and 10 days after they have symptoms. Now, one of the real concerns here is people who may have had Ebola, didn't know it, and recovered. One of the reasons that would drive that is there are a lot of Ebola-like symptoms in Africa, malaria, all these other things. Given so far that there haven't been any reports of ghost villages in Africa, where like the whole village has been wiped out, that is some indication that there are low symptomatic Ebola cases. Anyways, looks like this thing's going to be around for the long haul.